Just quickly, I'm watching the 4 hour chart here again. We had this peak over here. We got a lower high right here. I told you we can form a divergence right here and still go above this high right here. And again, it would take us above the March high if we did that. But then you could still form a divergence here and get a top like what we did over here. And again, we'll be watching, or the bullish divergence that formed down here. Do we get a divergence here? So do we get a rally? Do we close strong in the weekly time frame, or do we close weak? Do we get a successful back test and close strong, or at least try to form a divergence here? We get a topping tail in the weekly time frame, which you'll see in this video. Again, I'll be watching for clues. We can form divergences right here on the MACD and on the RSI in the 4 hour time frame. If we try to successfully back test here, we'll see if that's possible. We're trying to bounce off of the trend line, and we're testing our 50 period moving average here on the 4 hour chart. Now, parameter is forming a divergence right here with price from the previous peak there, and again, it's rolling over. I'll be watching. Do we get another divergence forming here, or do we not go up and make a new high and we start seeing this level break, or do we again just remain in positive territory and this just gives us a pullback and we get a legitimate breakout? We'll be watching to see how it unfolds. I told you about the bullish signals back over here on Bitcoin, and again, momentum line flipped after we had bottomed out. Right after that, signals all began to turn bullish, and again, you've got the momentum signal here and the trend signal here, and we began to see the buy signal show up right after, shortly after those momentum, and the bullish buy signal showed up here. We got another one right here for the cloud. So we got a lot of bullish things going on. Short-term tops developed here, and again, we got warning signs over here before the sell-off, but then reaffirmed the bullish signal. I told you we were going to bounce off the 50 and the 100. We did. So again, my signals correctly called that move up, called that move down, and called that move up. And then right here, we got some warning signs. But I told you again that I was still looking for price to move above this peak right here and likely form a divergence, because we didn't get one on the RSI with the peak back over here. But we're getting the sell signals. This could be a sign of a reversal. This could be a sign of just a pullback. So again, but we did get more signals. I told you about this one right here at the top. The sell signal there, it remained. It did not get canceled out. We had the red circle there saying, hey, possible top here, or short-term top. And again, then right after that, after I made the video, we had the T show up as we began to sell off, and we sold off quite a bit there. What I say, about 3%. And then after that, we got this sell signal here. Now that's turning back up. So again, as we're trying to bounce off the cloud and support, the trend signals are still hanging in there right here with Bitcoin. So again, we're bouncing off those levels. Gray shaded area starting to show up, saying we could see a squeeze in the not too distant future. Could take a while to form that. Could form very quickly, like over here, very quickly. Could take a while to form right here, but it could be a squeeze move up or down. But just some more sell signals here with momentum. But now we're trying to turn and get a blue arrow here, so we'll be watching as we're pretty much flat for the session. Bottom line is still bullish here, daily time frame. Now here are the bars reflecting the trend. They're still green, and again, the trend signals are still green. Momentum tried to flip bearish there, and it's kind of going flatlined right now. But again, some of the sell signals have shown up. We did complete a divergence here with momentum. So again, that could be problematic if we get a failed back test, or do we come back up here and end up seeing, again, a divergence in the most recent price action, maybe something similar to that on the RSI and the MACD. Other indicators like the money flow. The question now, again, is this marking what could be the start of a major reversal, or go up a little higher and then turn down like I talked about with the 4 hour chart? Or again, have we peaked and we see the move fail? We're going to be looking for clues, but right now, again, so far as what we have is we have a breakout of the trend line and a back test of it. We'll be looking for clues. Do we get a double top? Do we have a bull flag that's going to give us a continuation of the trend? Buy signals all begin to turn back to bullish in the weekly time frame, or again, does a breakout end up failing? Video all the way through, I'll be showing you the weekly charts. Really important stuff going on in the weekly time frame right now. I told you I'm looking for clues to the next directional move. And again, we have had a lot of chop. And we've dropped 33% from the high to the low, but it's been a lot of chop. And again, 7.5 months straight, the Moon Boys have been telling us that here we go, here we go, here we go. And again, they've been telling us that since here we go, you know, and we've had sell-off after sell-off 29%, or I'm sorry, 23.5%, 25.5%, 29% there, 19.5%. And we've seen these sell-offs happen. And again, we were told they weren't going to happen. So again, signals after we hit Bitcoin's average price here, the 50-week moving average. My signals turned back to bullish here, and we were at a major trend line. And I talked about these support areas at that time, along with the support area right here and the tagging of Bitcoin's average price and the 50-week moving average. And again, called some amazing bottoms, called some amazing tops. But I call this run up. Told you we were going to top here before the sell-off happened. Again, before the run up here, I told you we were going to likely go to the 68 to 69,000 area. I told you 68,000 area, probably overthrow it and try to go to 69,000 again. That happened. And then I told you if we get above that, we go to the resistance zone at 70 to 71,000. But called the pullback here. Told you we were going to bounce off the 50, the 100. And again, we had the run up here. We hit this trend line. I told you, again, we started to pull back. I told you we were likely going to form a divergence and go above that level. We went a little bit above 71,000 area. We went back and tested this high just underneath it. The Moon Boys are still waiting for us to get above this level. Well, these back and forth swings have been taking place, and my signals have been calling these back and forth swings very good. And again, remind you, again, my signals turn bullish right after this level. I've talked about that. My signals turn bearish here. I told you we were going to get a pullback. We are going to bounce off these levels, and my signals turn bullish. Momentum flipped here, but I told you again, I was looking for a higher high, and we got it. It's just we went a little bit above the resistance zone there, above this 71,000 area, which are from these two peaks right here. So that's where the resistance zone, but I was looking for that higher high. So I just want to remind you, again, my signals were correct about the bottom here, and then the reaffirming of that bottom here with the higher low, and even correct about the pullback. Just because I thought we had a top here, and I still think that that is very, very possible. But if we get a legitimate breakout, we get a legitimate breakout. You know, the jury's out on it right now. Let's see some proof. So I'm watching it closely. But after 7.5 months of waiting for the breakout, the Moon Boys telling us that we finally have it. So they got that right. Is it real? You know, and again, everybody, just like back in 2021, I showed you the charts. Everybody, I'm going to show you them. Everybody believed that Bitcoin was going to be at 100,000 in the first, you know, by the time the fourth quarter ended. And and then when that didn't happen, they said, oh, we're going to have it. And we ended up selling off. So as Bitcoin was dropping, they kept telling us, oh, no, here it comes. And it just kept sinking, and it dropped 52% real fast. And while it was dropping, everybody kept saying, no, it's going to go, because everybody was on the side of one trade. Everybody believed something, and they ran out of buyers. We have something like that here. So again, we could still go higher, form a double top. We could get a legitimate breakout. I need evidence. We broke above this trend line. We're back testing it right now. We could still come up here, form a divergence, go a little bit above this level like we did in 2021, and then have the whole thing just fail. We could get a legitimate breakout if we can stay above 69,000, clear 73,700 here, and go on our way. If you could stay above the 100, I'm a big believer in the 100 period moving average. So again, you got to be able to hold above that 100 period, not drop back below it. There's a possibility that the move fails if we go up higher and get a divergence on the 4-hour chart and then have the thing fail, or just have this hold us a peak, and that's it. So we'll be watching to see how this unfolds. Again, do we have a legitimate breakout? If we do, the bulls have to prove it. And so far they haven't proved it yet. We need more evidence if they're going to prove it. Well, they've been waiting for Bitcoin to get back above 73,700. Again, my signals have been going back and forth from bullish to bearish with these swings, nailing the turns back and forth, making some amazing calls. Because I believe that Bitcoin is in a topping process, I'll never get credit for that. So Moon Boys, they'll never be held accountable for all the selling that they told us was never, ever, ever going to happen, which my signals got correct. And again, I told you the bullish case. I tell you both the bearish and the bullish case. I told you that, hey, here's what has to happen if the bulls are going to break out. So we've had a breakout of this trend line. We've come and we've broken above the resistance zone. We've taken out 69,000, but now we've come back to it for a potential back test here, or a failed move, or do we get something bigger and then still see the move fail? We'll be watching as the bulls and bears fight it out. But again, the Moon Boys told, won't say this is going to happen. Won't warn of this possibility. I warn you of the bullish case. I warn you of the bearish case. I just happen to believe Bitcoin has topped, and I will change my mind if I am presented with evidence. And that's the weekly charts, and that's my indicators turning back to bullish and remaining that way and clearing these levels. So far, we still haven't cleared it. Okay, and we very well could. We can get a back test, and then suck everybody in. Here we go, and then you get your rug pull. And you go up maybe to 74, 75, 76,000 or something, and then you get your rug pull. We'll see what happens. Or do we get a legitimate breakout? I'm very open-minded to that. I really don't care if Bitcoin goes up or down. I really don't care. I'm a trader, man. I'm looking for a directional move. Who's going to be correct? And that's why I keep saying the dollar has risen, Bitcoin has risen. Which one's right? Is the dollar right? Or is Bitcoin right? One of them is wrong. We're going to find out which ones. Say about these trend lines right here. And remember when I was talking about Bitcoin's bouncing off its average price over here and over here. And again, the bottoming tail, and we found this trend line as support right there and right here. And again, we've got this breakout now. We've got this breakout and possible back test. But again, a lot of bullish events took place down here at these levels of support and Bitcoin's average price and the 50-week moving average and all the rest of it. And that's why I was calling for, again, 68, 69,000. And if we went above it to 70, 71,000, the resistance zone. But again, I didn't think we'd move above this level. I still think that that's possible now because which I talked about last time, because we've cleared the resistance zone, so you're at the next resistance zone. And if we do push above that, then again, we have a possible channel here. I'm watching this trend line right here, which is directly above that. I'm watching the 4-hour chart. So let's take a look at that. And again, we'll see if we get a little divergence here in the more recent price action, or does this thing fail? Do we get a successful back test and rally, or do we just rally and form a divergence and then start a reversal? The bulls and bears are fighting it out. Who's going to win? We'll be watching. Now, I told you to be watching the weekly chart this week to see how we close. We won't close until Sunday. So we'll be watching to see what kind of close do we get. Do we get a strong close and rebound back up, or do we get a weak close? And if we get a weak close, how weak of a close do we get? Do we close above 69,000 or below 69,000? Right now at the moment, we're just above 69,000, 69,643. 69,000 area is this red line right here in the weekly time frame. Do we close above the trend line that we broke out of right here? Do we close above it, or do we close below it? So I'll be watching. And again, even if we close strong, still a possibility of a double top of Bitcoin coming up just above this area like we did in 2021. We had a peak in early 2021. Months later, we went back up and we tested that peak. We peaked in November. And I believe it was in 2021, it was March or April that we peaked. Right here, it was March. And then again, you came back up, and November of 2021, you peaked. So again, do we see a similar situation? Everybody believes that the fourth quarter here is going to be so bullish. Now again, my signals turned bullish off of the 50-week moving average. And again, talked about that at the time, and the signals shortly thereafter turned bullish as we bounced and got this bottoming tail. I talked about all of that. My daily signals. I predicted we would get a pullback. We got it. I still thought we were going up to the trend line, up to the 68, 69,000 area. I told you if we overthrow it, we'll go to the peak here, and the peak here, which is a resistance zone between 70 and 70,000 and the high 71,000 area. I told you I thought we would likely get rejection there. We blew past that area, and we went from 71,000 area above 72,000 to just under the peak over here at 73,694. 73,694, just under that 73,700 area. And we were just under it there, and we turned. Now I'm looking for a possible double top on Bitcoin, looking for the same thing on NVIDIA, looking for the same thing. Go watch my videos. I've been talking about the double top on NVIDIA and on the NASDAQ. I'm looking for a possible double top. And again, we could get it here and go a little higher, or you can get it and just make a lower high. Guess that's what NASDAQ's going to do, but we'll be watching. But right now, we're getting a rally, and it's fizzling out. We were up 8% at the highs, and right now we're up 2.38% at the moment. So we've given back, over 5.5% of the rally for the week at the moment. Well over 5.5% there. So again, we'll be watching to see if we get a strong close or a weak close. It could be, again, if we see strength by the end of the week and on into the presidential election, we can push above this area, and then we'll see what happens. If we do go higher high, again, you can see a double top form in like what we had in 2021. Now, again, if we can clear this level, and we can stay above it, the previous peak, and stay above 69,000, get a bullish close in the weekly time frame, and see the weekly charts remain bullish, then again, you can have a legitimate bull market. The problem is that you've had the dollar break out and back test and is surging, and again, the dollar has been rising, Bitcoin is rising. They both cannot be rising in a positive correlation for very long. One of them is wrong. Is the dollar wrong, or is Bitcoin wrong? Which one of them is wrong? I've talked about that in my last couple of updates. So they have a long-term negative correlation, but right now the dollar's risen, Bitcoin's risen. One of them is wrong. If the dollar is wrong, it's got to collapse back below the 200 period. Well, it bounced off the 200-week moving average, the 200-period moving average in the weekly time frame. Chance the dollar's bottomed. And if it pulls back, and they pull back and keep the positive correlation going, Bitcoin might just top and reverse with the double top, and the dollar might get a higher low and then begin to surge. You see, the dollar's a real problem for Bitcoin. It has to collapse for Bitcoin to go higher. And it's not. It's bottomed out. It broke out, and it back tested, and it's now been surging, and now Bitcoin is doing it as well. So one of them is wrong. Said, again, we'll be watching the breakout. Does this end up losing steam here like we're already doing right now, or do we close strong and we end up getting some kind of topping process with a wide range bar and then see some kind of reversal, or do we get a legitimate breakout? And again, I told you what needs to happen, clearing these levels of resistance. Well, we're trying to do that here. We stalled up this one over here, and then we need to be able to clear, turn my weekly signals back to bullish, so we'll be watching. But this looks very, very similar and could play out very, very similar to what we had at the 2021 peak. And again, a possible double top. And I'm looking for that same thing on NVIDIA and the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at it real fast. By the way, everybody believes that we're about to move into this strong bull market phase, and we're going to be at 100,000 before you know it. They've been saying that all year long here, but we've seen this distribution over and over. Now, again, if we are moving into a bullish phase, the bulls have to prove it by doing the things that I've said, meeting the criteria that I've been talking about in my videos. These resistance levels, again, the weekly chart's turning to bullish, and so on and so forth. Everybody, I mean, you were considered a dope if you thought that the November 2021 peak was a top that was going to be followed by a 78.5% crash. And again, and have a 50%, 52% crash within weeks. We were told we were never going below 60,000 again. And again, we were going to be at 100,000 before 2021 ended in that fourth quarter, just like we're being told right now. And yet Bitcoin topped. They don't, people telling us about, this fourth quarter. Well, they never want to talk about the fourth quarter that gave us a top, and again, I really don't care which way Bitcoin goes. If it goes up, okay, let's see evidence of that. If it's going to go down, let's see evidence of that. I really don't care. I can make money either way. I'm a trader, okay? But if things are going to turn back to bullish and we're moving into a new bull phase, then prove it. They have proven it by getting us back above the 20 period, but they've got to do other things, like clearing this 69,000 area, clearing the peak over here in 2021. But again, another problem is the volume. We had good volume in the daily time frame on the day we got that. We got the breakout. It was kind of ho-hum, mediocre, and then the next day was pretty good, but it was likely short covering. But here in the weekly time frame, and the week is not done yet. Again, maybe not so convincing yet. We'll see how we close the week out. Again, we still have the weekend here. But again, we had some really strong volume going over here, and then it kind of died out. And again, then we advanced to new highs on declining volume. So again, we're kind of doing the same thing here. Now, again, we had some good volume here at the bottom and at these places here. But again, you can see the volume levels here are not what they were during this run up right here, not what they were down at the lows over here. So again, we'll see what it looks like again by the close on Sunday. Again, in all fairness, the week is not done yet, so we'll see what it looks like. If we get a big rally back up, maybe we see some real evidence of volume really spiking. But it was pretty good on that second day in the daily time frame. But again, the weekly is going to be important here as well. Again, we had a push to new highs over here, and we ended up getting a topping tail, and that's why I'm watching this. I just want to take a moment to talk about the peak over here and make some comparisons. Again, let's see when that peak was. It was either March or April. It was April. Okay, our peak over here was in March. The peak over here was in April. And now we're coming up here and we're testing those highs here, in November. And here we are. We peaked in November. We actually were testing those highs here in October, and we did that, and then we actually peaked on into November. This is a weekly chart. So here's the deal. Again, here we tried to get above this previous peak from months earlier. Again, this is April, this is March, and then we tried it, and we got a topping tail, and it failed, and we reversed. We were told that wasn't going to happen. We were told we broke out, and again, if you didn't believe that Bitcoin was going to be, that was in November. And again, everybody, and all the moon boys, they're saying that before the year ends, and by Christmas, we were going to be at 100,000 with Bitcoin, and we didn't. We reversed. Everybody was on one side. Now, I was calling the top with the diversions that formed here, and you got it triple diversions in the weekly time frame at that time, and you also had with this peak right here, you had a triple diversions with the peak over here, and we could be doing something similar to that in the weekly time frame if we do go a little bit higher. But we just went just a little bit above this level, and then it failed. And we could see something like that happen next week with the presidential election if we rally, or with the Fed, But still a strong possibility of a double top. I know we have a possible bull flag on our hands as well. I've talked about that at great length and detail. But again, you also have the possibility of a double top. And again, other bull flags that have formed at other tops that have failed, and I've talked about that in the past as well. But a topping tail. So do we get a topping tail here, and do we end up with a false breakout? Here we couldn't close. We struggled to close above that previous peak right there, and we got a topping tail, and then the next week we got a reversal bar. Do we see something like that? So here we have the peak over here from the 2021 peak there at 69,000. We came over here, we tried to get above it, it failed. And then now we've had, actually this is our 10th attempt to try to get above it, above 69,000. But we had the peak over here, it failed. We came back down to the 50. Do we end up coming back up here and having a fail? Over here, we had a rally. We peaked in April. We came back to the 50-week moving average. We went back up. We made a slightly higher high, and it failed. And we dropped 52% in just a few weeks. Again, we rallied up here, not in April, but March, came back to the 50, and then do we do that? So again, I'll be watching. Now listen to me. Look, again, I really don't care if Bitcoin goes up or down. I really, really don't. If we get evidence that Bitcoin is going to move into a bull market, then we'll continue. If this is a bull market, this, as I've said, this could be what is called an expanded flat. And that is where you peak here, you get a sell-off, and then you a harsh, ugly sell-off. You go back up and you move to just above the high over here. And you get another top, and then you come back down and you take out the low back over here. Do we see something like that? That's called an expanded flat. Is it a massive correction? And again, there are a couple problems with the rally, and I'll tell you what they are. The dollar is one of them. Okay, the dollar has bottomed and is trying to rally, and again, it's broken out. So again, the dollar has to collapse. We have recession indicators that are flashing, telling us we're about to get a recession. Okay, that's very problematic for Bitcoin. Again, we've had one recession that was very brief, that the Fed and the government wouldn't let us have it, and that was in 2020. And it was just extremely brief, and it ended. And it was surrounding the pandemic, and they threw so much money at it, so much stimulus, that they postponed it. The recession that we were really supposed to already have surrounding the pandemic and previously, we're going to have it now. No amount of money can prevent a legitimate recession from happening. You can postpone it, but as soon as the stimulus wears off, and right now we've had this massive government spending continuing, which is why we haven't seen the recession kick in, but it's about to. The recession indicators are telling us it's about to happen. So all I'm telling you is, look, we have some similarities here. The month is very, very close here. The sell-off back to the 50-week, the rebound to a new high. Well, we're just below that high right now, but the rebound off of the 50-period moving average and the rally back up. So we could see, again, a move that moves just above this area here a little bit. You know, maybe goes into, you know, we peaked over here at 73,700. Maybe we go into, you know, 74, 75, 76,000, something like that, and then just come back down. Here we went just a few $1,000s above the previous peak, and then it failed, and you've dropped 78.5%. So again, if we are going to get a legitimate breakout, the bulls have to be able to prove that. If the larger divergence forms in the weekly time frame, then again, very possible that marks a double top and a reversal. So we're going to be watching to see how this unfolds, but there are similarities over here to what we have right now, the 50-week. The months are even close, and again, it was in the fourth quarter that we peaked over here. We're in the fourth quarter now. We're in the month of November when we topped. We're in the month of November right now, and when we topped back in 2021, it was November. Some similarities. Now, again, if we have a bullish scenario, then again, we got to be able to somehow manage to recession and collapse the dollar. Volatility, which volatility is suggesting that it is getting ready to turn back up. So there are some problems in this area. Even the moving averages. Look, over here, the 10 crossed below the 20. We bounced off the 50. The 10, as we rallied back up, the 10 got back above the 20-week moving average. Here we had the 10 cross below it. We bounced out the 50. The 10 has gotten back above the 20-week moving average. So again, if we can go on our way and clear these levels and keep the weekly charts bullish, then great. We got the bull market here. Just continuing to tell you, there's still risk of a double top, and there's still risk of a reversal here. And we'll be watching. Do we get a topping tail this week or next week maybe? Do we go a little bit higher, or do we just fail right here and get a lower high? The potential topping tail, we'll be watching. It can unfold in a couple different ways. The difference is this was more exaggerated. I mean, we came up here to about 64, 65,000, dropped back down, got a 50% haircut plus or so, and then rebounded back up. And here the drop was 33%. Here the drop was greater than 50%. So again, they're very similar, but the percentage moves were just a little bit different. But even off of the 50, we got a bottoming tail. You got a bottoming tail, and then you got another one here and another one over here. And so again, some similarities there. Bottoming tail back over here. We tested this area a couple of times. Look, I'm looking for clues. Do we have a legitimate breakout, or do we have a fake out? And that's what I'm looking for. And again, even if we go higher, even if we close strong, you can still have the move fail, and you can have a divergence form, just like you had a divergence form back over here in the weekly time frame. In the weekly time frame, again, we tried to get above the cloud here. Right now it's filling at the moment. We'll see if we flip the signal. We had a buy signal. It went away. Does it appear and stay there? And if it does form, it means we're either going sideways or we're going up. That's what it means, sideways or up, one or the other. Signal we currently have is bearish. It went away. It was there earlier in the week, but it went away because we had an 8% rally that fizzled out, and we gave back over 5.5% of the rally, at least so far. The bearish signal means we're either going sideways or we're going down. So again, we're going to be watching as the bulls and bears fight it out. We do have momentum trying to go into positive territory. When we bottomed out over here, we flipped the cloud, and the momentum validated that. So again, right now we tried to flip the cloud. We'll see how we close by Sunday. Do we flip the cloud? And even if we flip the cloud, it still may just mean that we're just forming nothing more than a double top like what we had over here. So we'll be watching this closely. Now again, I'm open-minded to a bullish phase. I'm just telling you there are some problems with it, but it could be, as I've said in my previous updates, I talked about a bullish phase. Maybe we get a short-term bullish phase. If my signals, which are correct, turn back to bullish and remain that way, maybe we get the recession. Now, the uninverting of the yield curve is telling us it's 3 to 6 months away in all likelihood from September. Maybe the recession starts going into the second quarter, and we can rally going into the first quarter of 2025 and try to go higher if the signals, did you hear me? If the signals can remain bullish. And right now, we'll be watching the close, and then can they remain that way going forward? And then do we see evidence? And again, if the signals here can turn back to bullish, then the bulls are back in control. But, it can't be something like that you see things turn bullish, and then they quickly revert back to bearish, and, that's it, So again, you got to have staying power. So we'll be watching. Previously at the low when we were hitting the 50-week moving average, momentum, after we hit that low, momentum signal started turning bullish shortly thereafter here in the weekly time frame, the arrow, the momentum line there. But now we need to see the trend signals turn and momentum validate that if we're getting a turn into a new bull market, an extension of this move here. Shorter term bullish scenario could form before the recession. That is a possibility if the signals can turn back to bullish here in the weekly time frame and have the staying power to remain that way. First, the risk is the bears give us a double top. I'm watching as the bulls and bears fight it out for control.